In this week's special episode, I'll give you my initial impressions of the recent Transformers and G.I. Joe reveals from New York Comic Con 2025, and the pre-orders that just went up. I'll also give you a one-of-a-kind sneak peek of how some of these figures stack up against the original versions, as well as more recent releases, only at Heroic Nonsense. Let's go. Let's dive right in with one of the G.I. Joe Classified figures I want the most, the Night Viper. And man does he look awesome. The overall look and style is there with a few modifications, specifically in the uniform. And that helmet looks perfect. It appears that the overall black on the figure is a bit shinier than the original though, and the green is a different shade, but overall he hits all the main cues. Interesting that they went for a different design with the chest. Not sure the weapon attaches to his legs though, but looks very similar in style. Got 2 of these on pre-order. I would have ordered more, but I suspect I'll eventually make different versions of him because of his popularity. Classified Lifeline was also high up on my list, and he definitely looks to be an extremely faithful update. Lifeline was always one of my favorite Joes to play with as a kid, and to have a classified version now is amazing. The part I'm most interested in checking out is how the glasses and goggles work together. I hope we'll be able to recreate his original look with his glasses on and the goggles on his helmet. I personally feel that Classified Lifeline is going to end up being a fan favorite in the end and will inevitably be repainted into his Tiger Force version. I don't always like to get multiple versions of the same Joe characters, but in the case of Lifeline, I will 100% be all in. For some reason, I never got Hit and Run. I always thought he was cool and kind of reminded me of Tunnel Rat, who was one of my favorites, so not sure why he never ended up in my collection. For that reason alone, I knew I'd be getting him, but add in the fact that he looks this cool in his classified format and has a ton of accessories including a grappling hook, and you have yourself a figure that is a must-have. However, he's one of those figures I could potentially hold out for if I knew a reprint was coming down the pipeline. A Night Force version would be awesome. We're now onto the figures I don't plan on getting, starting with the Mole Rat Stage 2, partially because we got 2 of the Stage 1 version, and partially because I'm not into body horror and I think this guy just goes a bit too far. To be honest, the only reason I got the Stage 1 Mole Rat was because I think they'll ultimately look cool with the Toxo Vipers and Frag Vipers, and I never intended to use the crystallized faces, only the gas mask one. Overall, cool design, but not enough for me to get another version, especially since I wouldn't end up using the multiple faces. When I first heard about this figure, I had pretty close to zero interest in getting him. I'm not really into the sports-based Joes, and even only got Bazooka as part of Tiger Force, for example. My slight interest was because of the '87 movie, but I felt it wasn't enough to push me over the edge. I haven't pre-ordered him, but I have to say he looks really cool. Not sure how the designers pulled it off, but he actually looks like a total upgrade from the movie and actually gives me some realistic military vibes. Looks like a ton of fun as well, and if you're interested in completing the recruits lineup from the original movie, then he's a definite win. Another figure I wasn't 100% sure I was interested in getting, but did pre-order her in the end. From what I've seen, she does look well designed and has a ton of movie-inspired accessories, including that cloak. On her own, I wouldn't have ordered her. However, knowing they're going full in on COBRA-LA and that we love that storyline and the characters, I figured we had to get her to round out the set. Looks like she'll be perfect next to our Nemesis Immortal as well. While we're on the subject of COBRA-LA, I had to bring in the Royal Guard figure we now have renders of, and wow, do they look amazing. These guys just stood out for me as a kid and gave me the Crimson Guard vibes, but as COBRA-LA Elite units instead. They come with so much, and getting just one will be hard. We'll at least get 2, especially since you can have them in multiple ground and air configurations. Bonus heads that we'd either use with these guys or with other figures potentially. I already have an idea to mix it up with Cobra Commander during his time as a COBRA-LA citizen, or even as maskless heads for the Mole Rats. We've heard rumors about something like this for years now, but I never really believed them. But alas, here we are. The HasLab exclusives coming to retail in new colors and updated design elements. And if the tank will look as good as these renders do, which I'm sure they will, looks like there's another H.I.S. tank in our future. I don't know where I'm going to start displaying all these toys, but this is an absolute must-have for us. I took some shots of our HasLab H.I.S. tank to give you an initial comparison of the two, and looks like the Arctic Assault H.I.S. tank will be a great Arctic update to the original H.I.S. with different accessories, decals, and of course paint scheme. Perfect to fight the Snowcat and build up the Cobra Arctic units. By the way, this is also an homage to the 25th anniversary release in case any of you got it back in the day. Now, on to Transformers and my most anticipated release, Studio Series 86 Thundercracker. I love the Seekers, and we must have close to 25 now from the previous Earth and Cybertronian based modes. While I'm a bit bummed that our whole collection will likely be replaced, I'm way more happy that we're getting the cartoon accurate version with modern tooling. And first impressions, this looks like a mini masterpiece. Not only do we get a really nice update to the figure, but the jet mode finally gets some much needed love, specifically around the open chest area under the body and some landing gear, though still without working wheels from what I can see. The original still holds up extremely well, as you can see here with my Earthrise version, but the new one looks like it will be a worthy successor indeed. I unfortunately don't have an original 80s Blastoff or more recent version to show you, so I'll simply place them up against Age of the Prime's Vortex, and I gotta say, they look great next to each other. Bruticus and the Combaticons are also on our list of highly desired Transformers, so I cannot wait to get our hands on this guy. The alt modes look to generally be in line with each other as well, and check out that beautiful huge Decepticon symbol to complement the ones on the wings. Blastoff will definitely be a fun one to review with all the other shuttles and spaceships that we have out there now. And here's a quick preview of Brawl, who looks to be the best design to date of the three. Can't tell if the tank will be well proportioned or is a bit too thin, but I really like the overall look of both modes and the color they used. Remains to be seen how he stacks up against the other tanks in our arsenal, including Megatron and Blitzwing. And finally, a very preliminary render of Onslaught in bot mode revealed by the panel. And yeah, Onslaught is looking mighty cool. Really want to see the alt mode now, and wondering how it will compare to Motormaster in size and scale. We're back with the 13 primes, Quintus Prime now leading the charge. To be honest, it's a cool looking figure, but not one I would typically get on its own, mostly because he looks so organic, which I recognize as part of his lore, and I'm not the biggest fan of random, unspecified flight modes. However, as one of the 13 primes that we have been collecting, and the founder of the Quintusons, I really have no choice but to get him, being the completionist that I am. Remains to be seen how I'll feel once we have him in person. These images have been floating around for a bit now, and he's another one of those primes I'm still a bit unsure of. Yes, we'll get him as well, but not sure he'd be on my list of must-haves otherwise. I do like the shockwave looking element to him, and I've placed him here next to my Cronus Prime, as I believe he's also a bot who doesn't necessarily transform, but can be pulled apart like a weaponizer and rearranged into different modes. The name is befitting. I like the idea of SURESHOT, but I think I'll have to wait until I see the actual toy before we buy it. It might be another one of those Transformers that we wait to find in store. Bot mode looks really good, but the alt mode seems a bit cheap looking, even though I typically like the color scheme. Might just be the image, but I suspect we'll ultimately get him. Not really into the Beast Wars Transformers toys, even though we do have a few. The ones we do have either came from some of the multi-set ones, or ones that we really wanted, like Ravage. The tail looks really well designed though, and the rest mostly looks good other than the legs and the insect mode, but we already have a similar mode like this, so I likely will pass. I know it seems like I'm saying no to all of these, but it's not necessarily because I don't think they're cool figures. For example, Jalopy, and other previous similar Junkion molds, does look really good. However, personally, I love the Junkions as motorcycles, as that's how I always saw them growing up. Also, I like them all around the same scale and size, and these vehicle ones are smaller. Still, if I were collecting this group of Junkions, this would be an awesome one to get. We've kinda held off for the most part buying Transformers 1 bots, even though we love the movie, mostly because I don't feel that they ever made a proper scaled Optimus Prime and Megatron. I thought this design for the movie was really cool though, and impressed with AIRACHNID's toy design, so if we see some more interest in Hasbro growing the Transformers 1 toy line and story, then this looks like it would be a great addition. I do feel though that the female bots always seem a bit more fragile and have quality issues, so I'd be wary here until we saw her. As for Age of the Prime's leaders, no interest in Big Convoy, just not my thing, and I feel our kids generally enjoy the vehicle bots more. Razorclaw though, in those colors, looks great, and we never got Tigerhawk, who I was tempted to get, so we might get one if we see him on sale. And let's end on a for sure buy, Studio Series 86 WINDCHARGER. He's a must-have as part of the original Minibots lineup for when I was a kid, and he looks pretty good in his robot mode. I unfortunately don't have the original Minibot, but do have a tailgate version, which is a fine stand-in. Regardless, there's no comparison here. The vehicle mode is where he truly shines. That vehicle mode is so nice and compact and completely gives off that original G1 alt mode feel. I think this might be one of those few bots from G1 that we actually display in vehicle mode permanently. So that's it for this special NYCC 25 Spotlight. Hope you enjoyed my very high level take and initial impressions of the upcoming releases. We'll dive way deeper into the ones we get, so definitely keep an eye out for those reviews. I'd love to hear in the comment section what you guys think of the upcoming figures, which are your favorites and must-haves, and which are easy passes or wait and sees. Thanks for watching, and remember, it's all such heroic nonsense in the end.
Round 4!